telling the story of a civilization like Rome, one that spans centuries and is filled with countless wars, intrigues, and transformations, in such a short video is, of course, impossible. However, throughout this video, I have prepared a concise overview highlighting the most critical turning points in Roman history. Our goal is to clearly and understandably show how Rome rose step by step. If you enjoy this narration and would like to see a much longer and more detailed documentary about Rome, simply let us know in the comments. Throughout this video, we explore how Rome, which began as a small city-state in Italy, transformed over centuries of wars, political struggles, and major upheavals into one of the most powerful empires the world has ever seen. You will follow Rome's journey from monarchy to republic, and from republic to empire, its conquests, civil wars, rise, and the price it paid for that rise, presented as a single coherent story in chronological order. If history, power, empires, and the decisions that shape the fate of humanity interest you, you are in the right place. For more in-depth history and economics documentaries like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Now let's begin Rome's story from the very beginning. According to traditional accounts, the foundations of Rome were laid in 753 BC. According to legend, the city was founded by Romulus and Remus, the sons of Mars, the god of war. Established on the banks of the Tiber River, this small settlement was initially a simple city-state ruled by kings. In its early period, Rome was governed as a monarchy, a system that lasted until 509 BC. However, the oppressive, cruel, and arbitrary rule of the last king, Lucius Tarquinius Superbus, caused deep resentment among Rome's nobles and its people. This resentment culminated in a revolt led by Lucius Junius Brutus. The monarchy was overthrown, and a new system of government was established in Rome, the Roman Republic. With the Republic, Rome replaced the rule of a single king with a system governed by elected officials. At the head of the state were two consuls, elected annually. These consuls checked and balanced one another, preventing the return of one-man rule and safeguarding the Republic against a new monarchy. During the Republican period, the Senate stood at the very center of Roman politics. The word Senate derives from the Latin senex, meaning old man, and it was composed of experienced nobles. From declarations of war to foreign policy, from financial decisions to provincial administration, the Senate played a decisive role in nearly all of the state's most critical affairs. One of the Roman Republic's first major military campaigns was directed against the powerful Etruscan city of Veii, located nearby. After a long siege, Veii was captured in 396 BC. This conquest marked a major turning point for Rome. The city expanded its territory and acquired significant wealth. However, the cost of this victory was heavy, as many of the inhabitants of the conquered lands were enslaved. Before Rome could fully absorb the consequences of this victory, a new threat emerged from the north. Gallic tribes advanced toward Rome around 387 BC and sacked the city. This event left a deep trauma in Roman history. Yet, after long and exhausting struggles, the Romans managed to drive the Gallic forces out of the region. This experience fundamentally transformed Rome's military discipline and its approach to defense. Following the Gallic threat, Rome turned to consolidating its dominance in central Italy. Rising tensions with the Latin cities escalated into the Latin Wars between 343 and 338 BC. At the end of these wars, the Latin cities were forced to accept Roman supremacy. Rome was no longer merely a city-state, it had become a regional power. Rome's rapid rise unsettled other major powers in Italy, chief among them the Samnites. The Samnite Wars, fought between 326 and 290 BC, were among the most challenging military struggles in Roman history. Fighting in mountainous terrain, Rome suffered severe defeats at times. Yet in the long run, thanks to its military organization and manpower, Rome prevailed and defeated the Samnites. With this victory, Rome became the most powerful state on the Italian peninsula. The next target was southern Italy. This region was home to wealthy cities founded by the Greeks from the 8th century BC onward. These Greek cities, especially Taras, attempted to resist Roman expansion. In 280 BC, the Roman army marched on Taras but suffered heavy defeats due to the intervention of King Pyrrhus of Epirus. Although Pyrrhus won these battles, his losses were so devastating that they entered history as Pyrrhic victories. In the end, Rome did not give up, and by 270 BC, southern Italy was completely under Roman control. Rome had now entered the Mediterranean world, and standing before it was a far greater power, Carthage. Based in North Africa, Carthage dominated the Mediterranean through its powerful navy and vast trade network. Rome, by contrast, had almost no naval experience. Nevertheless, it quickly built a large fleet. During the First Punic War, Rome learned how to fight at sea. In 241 BC, the Carthaginian navy was defeated, and Sicily became Rome's first overseas province. After this victory, Rome also annexed Sardinia and Corsica. Carthage, however, refused to accept this outcome. Its greatest commander, Hannibal Barca, launched one of the boldest military campaigns in history against Rome. Leading his army across the Alps, Hannibal entered Italy and inflicted devastating defeats on Roman forces at Trebia, Lake Trasimene, and especially at the Battle of Cannae in 216 BC. Cannae went down in history as one of the bloodiest disasters Rome ever suffered. Despite these losses, Rome did not surrender. It adopted a long-term strategy of attrition. Under the leadership of the young commander Scipio Africanus, the war was carried into Africa. In 202 BC, Hannibal was decisively defeated at the Battle of Zama. Carthage was forced to sign a harsh peace treaty and lost much of its power in the Mediterranean. With the Carthaginian threat eliminated, Rome turned eastward. The kingdom of Macedon was defeated, and the Greek cities came under Roman control. In 146 BC, with the destruction of both Carthage and Corinth, one of the symbolic cities of the Greek world, Rome became the undisputed master of the Mediterranean. However, these vast conquests disrupted Rome's internal balance. Land increasingly concentrated in the hands of large aristocratic families, while small farmers were impoverished. Soldiers spent long years away from their homes and returned to find their lands lost. Social unrest grew. At the same time, Germanic tribes in the Numidian kingdom in North Africa began to pose new threats to Rome. In this atmosphere of crisis, Gaius Marius carried out major military reforms. The army was professionalized and turned into a salaried force, yet these reforms had an unintended consequence. Soldiers became loyal not to the state, but to the commanders who promised them pay and land. This development pushed Rome toward the brink of civil war. When Lucius Cornelius Sulla marched on Rome with his army and declared himself dictator, the foundations of the Republic were shaken. Soon after, Gaius Julius Caesar emerged onto the stage of history. Gaining immense military fame through his Gallic campaigns, Caesar crossed the Rubicon River following a political crisis with the Senate, igniting a civil war. Defeating his rival Pompey, Caesar became the sole ruler of Rome. In 49 BC, Julius Caesar declared himself dictator and initiated wide-ranging reforms. However, his growing authority and absolute power frightened his opponents in the Senate. In 44 BC, Caesar was assassinated in a plot carried out within the Senate itself. After Caesar's death, Rome once again descended into chaos. Following prolonged civil wars, Caesar's adopted heir Octavian eliminated his rivals. In 27 BC, Octavian was granted the title Augustus by the Senate and became Rome's first emperor. Thus, the Roman Republic effectively came to an end, and the Roman Empire was officially born. During the reign of Augustus, Rome experienced a long period of peace and stability. The army was reorganized, the provincial system strengthened, and roads, cities, and public buildings were constructed. Rome grew into a vast empire stretching from Britain to Anatolia and from North Africa to the Rhine River. For centuries, Rome ruled much of the known world. Over time, however, internal conflicts, economic problems, and external invasions weakened the empire. The Western Roman Empire ultimately collapsed in 476 AD due to barbarian invasions and political instability. The Eastern Roman Empire, known as the Byzantine Empire, continued the Roman legacy for centuries from its capital, Constantinople. The story of Rome is not merely the story of a state, but of a civilization that profoundly shaped human history in law, governance, warfare, and culture. If you've made it this far, you can now see much more clearly how Rome rose step by step and shaped the world. To support more long-form, in-depth, and thought-provoking content like this, you can like the video and subscribe to the channel to stay updated on future uploads. Sharing your thoughts in the comments or telling us which empire or historical period you would like to see next means a great deal to us. See you in the next video. Take care.